A note to the reader, the hook. Forget everything you think you know about the completion of the first transcontinental railroad. You've seen the iconic photograph, the two locomotives, Jupiter and number 119, meeting at Promontory Summit, Utah, the celebratory golden spike driven, marking the triumphant union of East and West. The men smiling in the picture, the heroes of the age, were predominantly white. But look closer at the photograph. Look at the vast, impossible terrain carved out of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Look at the tunnels bored through solid granite, the dizzying bridges spanning chasms that defy gravity. Then ask yourself a simple, terrifying question. Who did the back-breaking, death-defying work? The official records of the day tell a sanitized story. The truth is far more astonishing, horrifying, and heroic. This is the epic of 10,000 ghosts, the Chinese laborers, often referred to simply as celestials, who built the impossible, blasted their way through the devil's spine, and paid for the American dream with their blood, only to have their contributions systematically erased. Their sacrifices built the infrastructure that transformed America, yet their story remains the nation's most profound, untold epic. This is their story, a forgotten chapter essential to the soul of the American West. Part 1. The Call to the Golden Mountain, approximately 10,000 words. Chapter 1. The Scarcity of the West. The Big Four's Dream. Leland Stanford, Collis Huntington, Mark Hopkins, and Charles Crocker, the founders of the Central Pacific Railroad, CPRR, face a catastrophic labor shortage. The gold rush has drained the workforce. No free white men will endure the work for the offered wages. Charles Crocker's desperation. Crocker, the head of construction, is ridiculed for his radical idea: hire the Chinese immigrants already in California. The prevailing racist view is that they are too small, too weak, and too timid for the brutal work. The first experiment. In 1865, a small group of 50 Chinese men is hired for a trial run on the easily manageable flatlands near Sacramento. They prove to be disciplined, meticulous, and incredibly hard workers, surprising the skeptical foreman. Chapter 2. The Journey from Taisan. The Pole of Golden Mountain. Focus on a few fictionalized but historically representative characters. Ah Sui, a scholar forced to become a laborer. Mei Lin, his wife left behind. And Lao Guo, a grizzled veteran who acts as a father figure. The Voyage. The harrowing journey across the Pacific, the crowded, unsanitary conditions, the exploitation by labor brokers, crimps, and the sheer leap of faith in leaving behind a starving homeland for the Golden Mountain, California. Arrival in San Francisco, the disorientation of Chinatown, the palpable hostility, and the immediate pressures of paying off debt and sending home money, paper sons, and the debt cycle. Chapter 3. The First Rock and the Rules of the Road. The Contract and the Coin. Details of the laborer's pay, typically $26 to $35 a month, often without board, whereas white laborers earned more and were given board. The role of the Chinese foremen, called bos or bosses, as intermediaries, and the rigid organizational structure. Adaptation and ingenuity. The Chinese workers' insistence on boiling their tea water, a practice that dramatically cut down on disease compared to their white counterparts, and their traditional diets, rice, dried fish, and vegetables, which provided essential nutrition. Their use of conical hats, thick shoes, and layering to better manage the extreme weather. The Sierra Nooms. The construction progresses rapidly, but the workers know the real test. The massive shown snow-capped barrier of the Sierra Nevada mountains is fast approaching. Part 2. The Devil's Spine. Approximately 25,000 words. Chapter 4. Summit Camp and the Battle for the Passes. The elevation, the temperature plummets. The work shifts from laying track to pure excavation and construction on sheer cliff faces. Cisco, California becomes the operational hub. The art of the powder. The introduction of nitroglycerin and later massive amounts of black powder. The Chinese workers, with their ancestral knowledge of fireworks and blasting, become highly skilled powder monkeys. The basket men, the most dangerous work, being lowered in woven reed baskets down vertical cliffs to drill blast holes. The constant threat of falling, the accidental detonation, and the callous disregard for safety by the overseers. We follow the tragic journey of a young hopeful man named Wang on one such descent. Chapter 5. The Tunnels of Granite Hell. The Great China Wall, building the famous retaining wall at Cape Horn, where workers are suspended over a 1,000-foot drop, chiseling a ledge out of solid rock. This is a monument to human will and engineering ingenuity. Tunnel number 6, the Summit Tunnel. The single greatest obstacle, 1,659 feet of solid granite. Work continues 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in 3 shifts. Life in the dark, the horrifying conditions inside the tunnels, suffocating dust, lack of air, and constant water seepage, and the deafening roar of explosions. Working with short-handled picks in cramped, smoky spaces, only advancing inches per day. The CP eventually uses a vertical shaft to expedite work, blasting up and down, which doubles the peril. Chapter 6. The Winter of the Big Snows, 1866 to 1867. The Blizzard. The winter that almost ended the CPRR. 40-foot snow drifts. The workers live in tunnels carved into the snowbanks. They work in underground passages to clear track, going for days without seeing the sky. The avalanches, the terrifying suddenness of the White Death. Hundreds are buried alive in their makeshift camps and in the tunnels. Ah Sui and Lao Guo endure a harrowing rescue attempt after an avalanche crushes a nearby camp. The silent graves, the thousands of dead. The bodies preserved in the ice are not always found until spring. The desperate effort to send bones back to China, as per tradition, so the deceased could find peace in their homeland, an effort often stymied by expense and indifference. The true death toll is a mystery, deliberately obscured. Chapter 7. The Strike of 67. Reaching the breaking point. After months of relentless, deadly work and no increase in pay, the Chinese workers, against their cultural norm of avoiding direct confrontation, organize. The demand. They ask for a modest pay increase and a reduction in the 12-hour workday. The CPRR's response. Crocker's brutal, swift reaction. He cuts off all food and supplies. A complete siege of the workers. The workers hold out for 8 days, demonstrating incredible solidarity. The surrender. Faced with starvation and no support from the wider community, the workers are forced to return to work, gaining only minor concessions but solidifying their bond and their reputation for disciplined resistance. Part 3. The Race, the Spike, and the Silence. Approximately 15,000 words. Chapter 8. The Deserts and the Iron Horse Race. Beyond the Sierra, the CPRR bursts out into Nevada and Utah, racing against the Union Pacific. The work changes to a flat-out test of speed and logistics across the high desert. The Great Laying Race. In a stunning feat of organized effort, a team of Chinese workers and Irish track layers lays 10 miles of track in a single day, April 28, 1869, a record that stands to this day. This chapter details the precise choreography of this almost superhuman effort, a true, astonishing logistical marvel. Rivalries and tensions. The ongoing conflict and grudging respect between the primarily Irish UP workers and the Chinese CPRR workers. A brief tense collaboration when the two lines accidentally build 200 miles of parallel track. Chapter 9. Promontory Summit and the Erasure. The Day of Union, May 10, 1869. The arrival at Promontory Summit, Utah. The two engines face each other. The VIPs, the photographers, the telegraph lines ready to send the news of the last spike around the world. The omission. The celebratory photograph is taken. The Chinese workers, who had just finished laying the last ties, are deliberately kept out of the frame. They are the unseen majority, the crucial element, yet they are rendered visible. The irony of the telegraph. As the last spike is driven message flashes across the new continent, the thousands of Chinese men